congratulations, you're getting married. Or maybe someone you know is getting married. I'm sitting here in the St. Philip Institute studio with Deanna Johnston, who is the Director of Family Life for the St. Philip Institute of Catechesis and Evangelization here in the Diocese of Tyler. Deanna, thank you so much for sitting down with me today.
Thank you.
So we've talked in the past, we've had live streams in the past about Bishop Strickland and this monumental move of starting the St. Philip Institute, refining the way teaching happens in the diocese. Maybe someone you know is getting married. I'm sitting here in the St. Philip studio with Deanna Johnston, who is the Director of Family Life for the St. Philip Institute of Catechesis and Evangelization here in the Diocese of Tyler. Every time, there's always technical difficulties.
We work with it.
So in Bishop Strickland's Constitution on Teaching the Faith, he has an entire section devoted to teaching and marriage.
Right.
And then this is where your job comes in, Director of Family Life. So he says that he wants marriage formation in the Diocese of Tyler. Mm-hmm. Could you maybe explain why he's using this word formation instead of prep or preparation?
Yeah, and I think it's a really interesting move that he calls it formation instead of preparation, because I think for you and I, when we were preparing for marriage, it was marriage prep, and we go to marriage prep days. And I think the big message that comes across with the marriage formation versus marriage prep is that this is more than just getting couples to the altar, right? When in my previous work, I worked in a parish, met with engaged couples, and the first thing we do is we hand them a checklist. We say, here's everything you need to do before you get married in the church. And then the couple takes the checklist and it's like, okay, this is everything we need to do, along with making flower arrangements and music and finding the dress. And it just kind of gets lumped in with all of these other things. But by calling it formation, we're getting away from this kind of checklist mentality and saying, no, we really want to form you for the sacrament. And the goal is not just to get couples to the altar, right? Mm-hmm. We don't want to just send them through a process, they get married, and then we say, good luck, have fun. Really, we want to walk with you before the marriage, but we also want to continue walking with you afterwards. So in the Constitution on Teaching, Bishop Strickland says that he'd like to see, this 5-year follow-up after the wedding. And really what that's saying is that, again, we don't want to just walk with you as you're preparing for the sacrament, but the formation lasts a lifetime. And really, all of us have been in marriage formation since we came out of the womb, right? We've all been in a school of marriage since birth. And so really, marriage formation should be something that we're talking about long before a couple shows up in the parish office to set their wedding date. But really, we're saying that formation lasts a lifetime, and we want to walk with couples through that.
Okay, so you're talking about the institute, the diocese, the parish walking with couples.
Yes.
How does that take place, after the wedding?
Right, and that's something that we're developing, but beforehand what we're looking at is a process where we've got things like mentor couples and a retreat and just a way for couples to plug into the parish life. And the idea is that by using all of these things, they're getting involved in the life of the parish. And really, it's the community's job to help form couples, right? That it's not just on the priest or on their mentor couple or the retreat that they go to, but we're hoping that they plug in. Because what we've seen, unfortunately, sometimes is that couples, they get married, and then we don't see them again until it's time to baptize their first child, which of course we celebrate, but we'd really love to see them even beyond that, and to continue walking with them after the wedding day. So
Okay. So you mentioned mentor couples. What's their role in this whole thing?
Absolutely. So in the Constitution on Teaching, again, Bishop says that he would like to see mentor couples as part of the formation process. And the role that mentor couples plays is really unique because they're not asked to be experts, because no one has a perfect marriage, spoiler alert, right?
Right.
No one has a perfect marriage, but people can witness the love and what it means to say till death do us part, right? In good times and in bad, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. And by walking with an engaged couple, and in our diocese, we're using a program called Witness to Love, which has been really beautiful and really fruitful in the parish life. But the engaged couple gets to choose their mentors, someone that they know and trust that they want to walk with them, someone whose marriage they admire. And the mentor couple's role is to walk with them beforehand. So they're doing things like, going through a program, doing videos and discussion questions, but they're also doing things like going on date nights, going to adoration, going to mass together.
Cool.
And then they're really meant to be that couple that's going to be that connection for the engaged couple or the newlywed couple to their parish. And then beyond that, because again, marriage formation never stops. And it's really beautiful to see them get to the altar and they've begun this beautiful married life together. But life gets real as time goes on. God willing, if children come, that changes the dynamic of a couple's relationship. So to have a mentor who's been there with you from the time that you were dating, engaged, and then to be there as a support to you, even beyond just your wedding day, as questions arise or struggles come up, you've got a couple who's been there, who can walk with you, who can encourage you, and just to continue to be that support. So
from a Catholic perspective too.
Right.
That's awesome.
Right. Exactly. So we think of like sponsors for RCIA or your godparents. Like those are people who are supposed to walk with you in your journey of faith. Mentor couples are doing something very similar with the sacrament of marriage.
That's awesome. So basically what we have here is a formation on how to live out the Christian life in this vocation.
Right. Exactly. And hopefully transforming the culture by doing that.
That's awesome. So now this doesn't take, an overnight thing. It doesn't take 6 months. How long are we talking here?
So in our diocese, the time frame for formation was extended to 9 to 12 months. And I know some people are like, oh, that's a long time. But the truth is that by the time an engaged couple shows up at their parish to get married, they've already chosen their venue, they've reserved halls and all of that. So most couples are planning their weddings at least a year in advance. And what we're doing by extending that or allowing for a little bit more of a cushion with the formation time is really to say, this is an important thing. It's right on up there with, making your reservations for halls and finding dresses and all of that. But we value this formation process so much that we want you to enjoy it, right? We don't want you to feel rushed through it. And we want you to have the best marriage ever. I mean, really, that's what all of us want for all of our couples, is to have the best marriage ever. It's healthy, happy, and holy. And we want them to become saints. And by going through this process and, allowing for that 9 to 12 month period, that really just gives them time to enter in. It's not like they're going to be doing something every single week or having to go to a different retreat every month, but really just taking that time to experience the process and to be able to enjoy it. Again, that's actually important to enjoy your marriage formation.
So is there a retreat aspect to the formation process?
Yeah. So one of the things that we added last year, actually this weekend is the 1 year anniversary of it starting. We started a retreat here called 3 to Get Married. And the goal of that retreat is really to help couples to put Christ at the center of their marriages. Communication skills, conflict resolution, understanding your family of origin, all of that is so, so important. And we talk about that during the retreat. But because we're entering into a sacrament, right, that we're entering into this vocation, we want to make sure that Christ is at the very center. So one of the goals of the retreat is to teach couples, practically speaking, what does that mean to put Christ at the center of our marriage? What does it mean to, have a prayer life together? What does that look like? How do we, go to mass together? And for couples, and we see this more and more, that maybe one of the couples is not, one of the engaged is not Catholic. Excuse me. And so it's a really good experience of what is the Catholic faith? Why do we have rosaries? Why is the Blessed Mother an important part of our Catholic life? What is this thing called adoration and Eucharist? And even for cradle Catholics to have maybe a renewed understanding of what those things are.
Yeah, that's so important. So from the start of the process, it seems like a really great process for engaged couples. What about like for people who maybe they've been married civilly already,
Right.
and they're kind of in a more irregular situation?
Right.
Is there some kind of accommodation for that?
Absolutely, absolutely. So for engaged couples, we say that the process is 9 to 12 months, and there's these things that are part of that. And for civilly married couples who are seeking convalidation, they want a sacramental marriage. Really, I would encourage them to talk to their pastor, because every couple is different, every situation is different. But by having that conversation with their pastor, they can find out, what is it that's required for us to really enter into the sacrament of marriage. Are there obstacles or maybe impediments, like the annulment process, is that required for this particular situation? Are there other issues that need to be dealt with beforehand? But there's definitely still a formation component, whether that's going to a retreat or really meeting one-on-one with your pastor. There's a lot more flexibility there, but the first thing I would definitely encourage couples in that situation to do is just to talk to their pastor and find out how to get started with that.
Yeah. So the process can be fit to their situation.
Right. Exactly.
That's awesome.
Exactly. And there's even a way to continue with mentor couples in that situation too. And we've found that mentor couples can be especially helpful to couples in that situation, especially if they've been there before.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. So another thing that the bishop devotes like a couple of paragraphs to in this section is natural family planning.
Right.
Is there any, are we helping couples to understand natural family planning in this process?
Right. So, and I really like that the way that our formation process is designed is that we're not just teaching what natural family planning or NFP is, but we really want to give them the why behind the what. So we're giving them, what is the sacramentality of marriage? What does it mean to say that marriage is life-giving and love-giving? And then from there, being able to say, well, NFP is a way to live that out. You don't have to use NFP, but if you're looking for a tool where you can live out this call to responsible parenthood, and there may be a need to postpone pregnancy, or even for couples who are trying to achieve pregnancy and they think it may be difficult, being able to provide couples with the science of NFP and just how the beauty of God's design, that God doesn't make junk, that our fertility is actually something very beautiful and holy, and that we can learn to use that responsibly. And then it's not just on me as the wife to understand what my fertility is, but that it really is a couple fertility. But being able to just introduce that to couples. So some couples can take, just an introductory method, finding a method that works best for their situation, or they can continue with courses. So just being able to offer that as a tool that couples can use in their married life.
That's awesome. And it's so empowering too, because many people have talked about how the statistics on the effect of contraception on marriage is just so bleak.
It's devastating.
And it seems like so many couples in our society are contracepting. That's just the default.
Right.
So I think that's such a valuable thing to bring to the table.
Absolutely. And to say that, this is something that can help your marriage, and not to say that, if you use NFP, you'll automatically have the best marriage ever, but knowing that using NFP as one of many tools and having strong communication skills and having a Christ-centered marriage, NFP can be something that works well within your married life.
It just fits.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So now this is a very involved process. What can couples do maybe before they start this process or in addition to the process to kind of get ready for a lifelong sacrament? Right,
because it's a lot, right? Yeah. And we think about what we send our priests through in order to get ordained, and we're asking for this 9 to 12 month period beforehand. But I would definitely encourage couples, number one, to pray, to have a prayer life. And I know it's like a default ministry answer, but really, prayer is important. And not only as individuals, and that individual prayer life is so important that we're seeking a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, but to actually pray together as a couple before you're married. Because I think sometimes the temptation is to think, when we get married, like we'll do all that couple prayer stuff. We'll be like super holy and live it then. But now, as you're entering into the formation process, to really take that time to pray together, and with that, to take the time to spend time with our Lord in the Eucharist. Like adoration together is so powerful. Going to Mass together is a very powerful thing, and making that commitment. Like maybe we haven't been going to Mass regularly before now, but now that we're in the formation process or preparing for marriage, we want to make that a priority in our marriage. This is the perfect time to do that, and especially if one of them is not Catholic. Like this is a great time to just learn like what are we saying yes to within the sacrament. And then I'd also say like have fun, like enjoy what this chapter in your life is. There's so much joy to be had, and the church wants to affirm that this is actually a really great, exciting adventure that you're about to embark on, and we want to support you in that. But by doing things like prayer, focusing on the Eucharist, focusing on the joy that's part of all of this, and then maybe even including some extra reading. If I know some couples have asked for resources, whether that's like practical resources like the 5 love languages or something like that, or finances, but even just learning like what is the church teaching, and we go through that within the formation process. But picking up a book like 3 to Get Married by Fulton Sheen, or Theology of the Body, things like that can just really refresh our eyes to, okay, what is it that we're saying yes to in the sacrament of marriage?
Yeah. My wife and I read 3 to Get Married before we got married, like
Nice.
when we were getting ready to get married.
Nice.
It was so good.
Yeah, powerful.
I was so grateful for that book. That's really awesome. So what about for couples maybe who didn't have the best formation? Is there anything, would you recommend anything for them kind of going forward? Like maybe it wasn't the greatest in the past. Maybe we're having marital struggles now.
Right.
Where do they need to go?
Right,
What do they
absolutely.
need to
And there's so many different resources, and I know it's something that we're developing here in our diocese. There's something called Worldwide Marriage Encounter. We're hoping to see that in English more and more. We have a really vibrant Spanish-speaking community, and that's been a really helpful resource. Retreats, not being afraid to talk to other couples that you know and trust that are living the sacrament of marriage. That community aspect is so important, and having that mentorship, even if you've been married for several years, having a couple that you just love and admire, and you see that they're living the sacrament, spending time with them and getting to know them more, building that community. I think sometimes it's tempting to feel isolated as couples, right? Like I'm the only one who's dealing with a 2-year-old tantrum at Mass. But there's more of us that are going through these things, and people who have been there, who can impart their wisdom on us. So really seeking that community, and praise God for our priests who are there to support us as well. So just knowing that we have the support of our priests, and if a couple needs to sit down and talk with their pastor, like knowing that's an option. So yeah,
that's awesome. So, Deanna, thank you so much for sitting down and talking about this stuff.
Absolutely.
It's so important. I mean, the bishop says in his constitution, this is perhaps the most important project we undertake.
Exactly.
So I'm super grateful for all the work you're doing.
Thanks.
All over the diocese. It's just fabulous. Thank you so much, Deanna.
Thank you.
So in just a couple of days, if you live in the Tyler area, be sure to join us for the Faith and Science Institute Day. We are having a conference on the interchange, the relationship between faith and science. We're having Dr. Stephen Barr, Dr. Corey Hayes, our own Dr. Stacy Trasankos, and yours truly. We're all giving talks on the relationship between faith and science. Obviously, what we've been talking about is really relevant to that with natural family planning. But there's also big questions about creation, evolution. Has the modern scientific era just completely gotten rid of our need for religion? These are all really important topics. So we hope that you'll join us for that. And thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you're not already subscribed to the St. Philip Institute. And like this video, share it with your friends on social media. We'd really appreciate it. Leave a comment in the comment section and let us know what you want to watch. We want to talk about all different sorts of things that have to do with the Catholic faith, practiced globally or just here in East Texas. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.